This is Believing Buckeyes. I'm Brian Brown with All-American quarterback Chindy Chekwa. We got a great show for you guys because we're getting ready for some Big Ten football,
Big
man. It's
Ten ball.
about to beef it up, man. But yes, our Ohio State Buckeyes took on Marshall, the Thundering Herd, this past weekend. We won that game 49-14. I don't know what the spread is, but obviously we won that game pretty comfortably. But I mean, sometimes the scoreboard doesn't always tell the full story. So Chin, what was your thought of the Buckeyes or their performance this weekend? Are you gonna be like one of those, one of our fans? We win by a lot, but it's still just not quite good enough. What's your thoughts on the game on Saturday, man?
As Buckeye fans, we want something to complain about, right? Like
That's right.
the Buckeyes gave us something to finally complain about. First, week one, there was the offensive line, right? Put all the weight on the offensive line because the run game wasn't up, which we expected it to be. Week two, we didn't have nothing to complain about. They didn't leave nothing.
Nothing.
Special teams, nothing. They didn't leave nothing for us to complain about. And now finally, we have something to talk about. No, I would say, I think, if you ask the coaching staff, the players, I think they understand that the defense could have played better. I know for a fact they understand that the special teams has to be better. All right, you talking 3 field goal kicks out of bounds.
3 kickoffs out of bounds. Yeah,
3 kickoffs out of bounds. So now I'm messing up, man. But 3 kickoffs out of bounds, bro. Like that's unheard of. The muff punt by the young punt returner. What I would say, I prefer the muff to happen in these first 3 weeks than to happen during Big Ten play. So get one out of your system, right? Feel the pain of what it feels like to muff it, and never do it again. Right. And then outside of that, man, I thought just defensively, and it's not like that on defense they were doing a bunch of stuff, right? So the scheme was pretty basic, but I thought defensively there was some minor mistakes. And the way football works, man, if you make a minor mistake, it leads to plays for the other team because the other team is scheming you up, and they're hoping that you make those exact mistakes. Also, we got to give credit to Marshall. Marshall made some plays, and going in, I thought that the better unit for Marshall was the defensive unit. I thought, they got some guys that are probably going to play on Sundays on the defense. It didn't look like they had much resistance against the offense. But their offense didn't really seem like a unit that was actually doing much all year. And I kudos to them. They were able to make some
right.
plays.
No, to be frank, like when they score points, Marshall was very clean. Like that first drive of the game, they had no negative plays, no penalties. Right, they went out there and they just kind of stood tall. They executed each play until they ended up with a touchdown, and that's this good, solid football. I mean, Coach Huff, made some jokes over in the media. Obviously, he's talking about biscuits, Tudor biscuits, and he try to entice some guys to come to Marshall from Ohio State. But whenever I feel like a coach is that loose, that means that he's that loose in the media, but he's probably really coming down on his team and feels that his team is locked in and ready to play. And obviously, he gave a lot of respect to Ohio State before the game, watching their film after the game, stating that this most likely is definitely a national championship team and all that kind of stuff. And kudos to him. But he definitely had his guys ready to play when it came down to it. Those guys was locked in. They played well. Like I say, whenever they did not make a mistake, they was able to kind of get some points on the board. Obviously, they had to muff punt. Because, what that game, obviously, Ohio State obviously won big. Wasn't our cleanest game. But with that muff punt, if you think about it, halftime, the score was 28-14. And on the muff punt, they had a legal procedure. They had a couple guys essentially just lined up wrong, which is really silly. But it happens throughout the course of the games. You see it in the NFL all the time that your offensive linemen kind of get lined up wrong too far off the center and it draws a flag. But imagine if they get that recovery and they score a touchdown right there. We're looking at a halftime score being possibly 28-21. Obviously, that's a lot of what ifs. But if that's the case, Marshall, to me, played a half of football that could kind of lead to the score being that close. I think offensively, though, I think we played well. A lot of explosive plays. Like, whenever our guys got in space, Marshall just literally couldn't catch them, right? Second play of the game, we throw it to a wide receiver screen to Emeka Ibuka, was like 68 yards for a touchdown. No one could run one. And then that kind of was the theme of the day. Whenever our guys got to that second, third level clean, Marshall just literally didn't have the guys to chase us down to stop us. But like I said, I mean, they definitely wasn't their best game as we started to kind of get ready for Big Ten play, right?
Yeah, and there's some things to clean up, specifically on defense. And we like to pinpoint who's the blame. In these types of games, man, it's like it's everybody, right? It's like it's everybody. I mean, when you watch it on film, you may identify somebody who missed a tackle or whatever. But I think defensive line and Tyreek Williams was out for that game. Right. But I think defensive line could have been a little bit better. I think the linebackers have some improving to do as well. And then the defensive backs, I thought, they weren't bad, but I thought, to the level, the caliber that they can play at, I think some mistakes just minor mistakes, right? Eyes not in the right place, not having the right leverage, disguising and not being able to get, to where your coverage is supposed to be, right? Sacrificing coverage for the disguise early on. So, I mean, that's some stuff that they're gonna have to work out. And to me, this is the third preseason game, right? This is preseason game number 3. In NFL, preseason game number 3 is the one where, you actually have the starters play the most, right? It's really the dress rehearsal for, what's coming next. And what better team to do that against than Marshall, a team that you are likely going to win, win the game, but they're gonna put up somewhat of some resistance, right? Right. And I thought in preseason game number 3, Ohio State was not who we know they can be. And I think that's almost plays to their benefit, because now we can make the corrections and walk into Big Ten play, kind of knowing exactly what you need to work on and need to fix moving forward.
Right. And one shout out, though. Obviously, like you said, week 1 was kind of a little leery on the offensive line. Obviously, like you said, week 2, there was nothing to talk about. But week 3, the offensive line played really well, right? I mean, I think they did a great job at basically just going out there and taking it to Marshall up front. They got a lot of movement. You seen them locked on to the right guys, kind of getting guys displaced. Obviously, a tremendous running day for Quinshawn Judkins. I believe he had 170 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, had one run for like 86. Travion Henderson also had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. I think they both averaged 9-10 yards a carry. I know going into the fourth quarter, while the starters were still in the game, the average carry for attempt was like 9.9. It was something ridiculous like that. So that just kind of goes to show you what type of day our offensive line had against Marshall. And they kind of was mixing some things up on the right side at that right guard position. First time we really seen this all season, but they was playing Tegra Shabola and also Austin Shearfield in that position at the right guard. And I think they really Austin started off the season starting at left guard for Donovan Jackson and kind of mixing it up. But at right guard, I mean, be honest, man, he looked at fantastic. He had a really good game, played very well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Would they keep rotating those guys, or would they just go ahead and let someone have that spot? But Austin going to the right side with Tegra, like I say, once again, rotating, really, I feel like got the best of that offensive line unit, and they went out and had a day. That's for sure.
Yeah, I like that you gave the offensive line a shout out, because this is the thing we do as fans is when the offensive or when the run game isn't up to par, or the offensive line is giving up sacks and stuff like that, we kill them. Yeah, we kill them. Like
we lean in on it.
We kill all of them too. Like we got guys on. You can have a guy who's gonna be a first round draft pick. And everybody sucks on the offensive line, right? Yeah. But then when they actually perform, we just don't talk about them anymore, mm-hmm. Right? Right? Like I think the strength of this team, as we can see, is this running game, mm-hmm. And we've been asking for domination in the run game for a while, and it's here. Yeah, it's definitely here. So yeah. A guy like Will Howard, he has a bunch of riches, man. Like you go out there, hand the ball off a bunch of times, play action, and get some opportunity. So I'm excited about the offense, and I'm excited about the defense, man. I could, we could talk about this game and the mistakes and all that stuff. I truly believe that this defense, as currently constructed, is the top defense in college football. I truly believe it. And I watched the game. People are going to overreact to this game. But I have no doubt in my mind, I'm looking top to bottom. This team, if they execute, if they're disciplined, if they, have the attention to detail and they're ready to play, is equally as good or better than any other college football defense this year. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do as we enter Big Ten play.
Yeah, same. Like I said, that defense is solid, fantastic, is great. I'm still a little bit. I'm not gonna say leery, but I'm gonna say just a tad bit concerned about a linebacker play. It's just guys are trying to get some experience there, and obviously they're getting a couple of their games to do it. But now, as we know, like the preseason is over, as you stated,
Yeah.
they had 3 weeks, 3 games. It's like 4 full weeks, 4 about week in there as well. But now that's all behind us, man. As we get ready to go on the road and play Michigan State this Saturday up in East Lansing, night game at that. Michigan State is currently 3-1. First year coach Jonathan Smith. This past week, they had a night game themselves, and they ended up losing to Boston College, a game that they was leading in the fourth quarter. Boston College had to make some plays to come back. But now that we're going into Big Ten play, that preseason is behind us. What's your thoughts about Michigan State, the Spartans, and what should we be concerned about? Also, first road game, right? That adds a little bit to it as well.
Yeah, I think the Marshall game pointed to what we, if there was a concern, what we should be concerned about. And you just kind of alluded to it as well. Just that run game. In every game, there's been a little bit of leakage in the run game at times, but more so in this Marshall game. The linebacker play, they're rotating the linebackers, so you're seeing 4 linebackers. They play with two linebackers at a time, right? Because they got the nickel corner, Jordan Hancock, who's out there, but they're rotating 4 guys, and everybody has gotten a decent amount of playing time in these first 3 games, and it's been inconsistent. Playing in open field, reading and reacting to what they're seeing. There's been some inconsistency there. So, that's one thing to be a little bit concerned, or at least to watch for, because Michigan State, mobile quarterback, they're going to run a lot of zone read. They're going to see the game against Marshall. They're going to try to scheme up the same type of actions and opportunities. So that's one thing to watch. And who gets the bulk of those snaps at the linebacker position? I'm assuming it's going to be Cody Simon and Sonny Styles, based on who's led, a lot of so far. But I like Arvell Reese. I like his activity. I like his reaction. I like, I like how fast he is reacting and getting in there, getting his nose in there. So we'll see how that continues to develop. But that would be my one thing if I'm looking at something to continue to watch, is that linebacker play, who plays at that position, and how they continue to progress.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So going into Big Ten ball and then getting ready for Michigan State, their quarterback, who was a big time recruit, 4-star quarterback, Aiden Childs. He was actually at Oregon State with their coach Jonathan Smith. He gets the job at Michigan State. And he saw to it that his young quarterback came with them, and he's been the starter of that program. And so far, like you say, they're currently 3-1. He's not a runner, but he can run, right? And he's not like, they're not drawing up a ton of run plays for him or anything of that nature, but he's a guy that's active in the pocket, and I believe he has been doing a decent job at running some option plays for them as well. He does have the ability to throw, has a decent amount of throwing yards. Looks like he does kind of get hit with the turnover bug a little bit so far this season. 7 total touchdowns, 4 passing, 3 rushing, and 7 interceptions. So that's kind of getting after it in the interception category. But he's definitely a capable guy. Like I say, definitely talented. And Michigan State's been playing solid ball. Their big win so far this season, that was the early season, but they were able to beat Maryland. Again, if you asked me before the season who was going to win, I definitely would have picked Maryland to win that game. And once again, they lost to Boston College in the fourth quarter, right? So they was in that game the entire time, and fourth quarter weren't able to get it done. But I guess, going into Big Ten play, it really is about, that's what Big Ten ball has historically been about, right? Running the ball, stopping the run, right? And obviously, Marshall had a little wrinkle. I didn't know their quarterback was capable of doing so many things with his feet, and obviously he was able to, have some success there. But it's going to go to us being dominant against the run, stopping it, nipping in the bud early, and then kind of try to get them to, I'm not going to say trick plays, but start trying to wing and ding around to try to get their guys some opportunities. And that's why I feel like it's critical that our linebacker play is up to task. Because once again, if it's one way to attack college offenses, I feel like is the kind of eye candy, right? And get the guys playing slow. You kind of show something over there where you're actually trying to go over there. And if your linebackers are not have the awareness to kind of pick up on it, those little plays lead to success, right? 4, 5, 6 yards, 7 yards, first downs. And then what happens, you try to make an adjustment for something, and then boom, they hit you over top for a big play. So linebacker play has been okay, but I think it's time for them to kind of step into that light and make a big play. Now we're going into some Big Ten ball and kind of really the guys that's going to be the top guys to kind of make sure that they etch their name up there and do it with their play.
Yeah, I agree. And, Sonny Styles moving from safety to linebacker, he's seen a lot of stuff that he's seen before, but at a different play, right? Mm-hmm. And so I like that he got a lot of reps these first 3 games to continue to see some of the stuff he's going to get. I mean, you have to imagine Michigan State is really going to watch that Marshall tape and see if they can mimic some of the same success. But I'm gonna be honest, in the past game, that quarterback, he's a young guy. He's going to continue to improve and get better. Right. But it's early in the season. He'll throw the defense the ball. Right? I think what does he have? 7? How many interceptions on this?
Yeah, 7 interceptions. So
7 interceptions on the season. If Ohio State is able to stop their run, he's throwing them the ball. 3rd and long, he will throw the ball to the other team. Tips and overthrows. I expect a few interceptions versus Michigan State. If Ohio State can contain and stop the run and force them into longer yardage 3rd down situations, there's going to be opportunity to get some picks for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And like you say, need to stop the run. And obviously, Big Ten ball, I want us to continue to run the ball. What do you think so far about Quinshon Judkins, man? I mean, I think when I watch him, to be honest, he really just feels and looks like a cheat code, especially against lesser competition. Been playing fantastic, open field. He's just he does everything. Check all the boxes. We know we got a Henderson, the speed that and the cuts that he can make, but Judkins just kind of feel like he's at a next level when it comes to the actual power that he plays with. When you start looking at some of those stiff arms and throwing corners to score a touchdown, what are your thoughts so far on Quinshon Judkins and what he brings to the Ohio State roster going into this Big Ten play?
Yeah, he's crazy explosive because of his ability to get yards after the contact. His ability to maintain balance, strength. He's in some of those explosive plays, he's not getting hit until 4 or 5 yards down the field. Mm-hmm. And then he's breaking 2 or 3 tackles, and then it's over, right?
It's over.
And then he has a speed too. Like, that's the one thing. It's like, typically guys like that, as a corner, I'm chasing this guy down. But his ability to get out there and then outrun guys, it's special. Now I understand the NCAA video game where they gave him an unstoppable move in the game because they're like, we got to give him something. Like this
guy earned it.
This guy earned the ability to not be able to be tackled in certain situations. So, man, it's going to be hell for these defenses. If the offensive line and the blocking continues to be the way it is going to be so hard to stop. And this is the type of offense where on defense you have no answers. There's no answers because you have to sell out for the run. And if you sell out for the run, then that means you're going to have to play man on these receivers. And there's play action opportunities. Chip Kelly's going to scheme up a bunch of deep over routes that are just too hard. It's just hard to guard because now the corner has to chase across the field. And, these Ohio State receivers are just too good. So if they can continue that dominance in the run game, they just can't be stopped. It's just going to be completely unstoppable on offense. And now we're just talking about, can the other offense match that level of explosiveness? So I'm interested to see, this offense against a Big Ten defense. See if they can continue on. Maybe they don't continue on 10-yard average per carry pace, but if they can continue to pop these explosive runs, I don't know what you do on defensively to contain that.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's just, it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we know Michigan State, and it's funny. Michigan State has been Michigan State for a long time, and a lot of times they don't have, I want to say, like the most skilled guys, but they always got some tough guys. They
Yeah.
always is a tough football team, and like I said, obviously it's going to be a night situation up there. They're going to be fired up. They're going to make that game as physical as possible because I know. Them watching the film, whenever we start talking about how talented a team is, how do you beat a team with talent? You out tough them, right? You kind of beat them up. You make the game kind of muddy per se, and make the game, kind of go in that fashion. Then you kind of see if you can get the ball to bounce your way due to your gritty play. So that's always been Michigan State's MO. I'm sure that's what they're getting ready, geared up to do this Saturday. So like I said, our running game will need to kind of keep up pace. It's just funny to me that, we had TreVeyon Henderson. We expected him to have another great year, and instead he's coming back. And we get another guy that's like a A1, a 1A guy to come in with him, and now you just got really this double-head monster, which is good for them on a lot of levels. Because everybody kind of talks about, before they bring a guy in like this, they talk to TreVeyon, like, are you comfortable with this? And like, that's football now. You need, NFL, they got multiple running backs. You don't want to get overworked in college. The best way not to get overworked is to have multiple capable guys, and that's definitely the luxury that we have this season when it comes to our running back room. But one, I guess, report around college football, Big Ten football a little bit before we kind of wrap up the show. Obviously, we had a big one take place up north there, and the guys came out on top. Last second touchdown, was able to beat SC. Did you catch much of that game? I mean, had to be an ugly one, right?
Yeah, I got to watch some of the game. I didn't get to like consistently watch it. I had a kid's birthday party I had to attend.
Oh, that's
with one of our former teammates. One of his daughter had a birthday. Dexter Larimore, a D tackle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shout out Dex. Shout
out to Dexter, man. He was on the grill, man. He makes his own wine too now, man. Dexter's a man of many talents. Post football, man. Post football, Dexter's a different guy. But yeah, so the game was on, but a lot of stuff happening, so I didn't get to catch it in the way I like to watch it. But I put out a tweet, and I don't think a lot of Ohio State fans agreed with that tweet. And it was what I said was Michigan is back, right? Michigan football is back, and the reason I said that is because these first two games they were lost. They had no identity. Mm-hmm. They were in an identity crisis. They had a quarterback in there who they thought was the better quarterback, right? And they were trying to throw the ball, and all those things, all they did was lead to 3 and outs and turnovers. They had bad field position, right? So they hurt the defense because now they're losing the field position battle, which last year, I don't know the numbers, but I'm pretty sure Michigan across all their games was probably either equal or winning the field position battle. Mm-hmm. Now they put in Alex Orji, and they know going in, we're running the ball. Why? Because the quarterback that we got, he can run and he can't really throw, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody knows going in. USC knows going in that they're running the ball. And what do? They run the ball. They play defense. Still had some busted coverages here and there. I think Wink's defense is still a little bit risky, a little bit boom or bust. But they played much better defense. They did much better in the field position battle. They took care of the football, so they didn't have the turnovers they had last game. And this is who they are, right? They're back to who they are now. Whether or not they're not a tier 1 Big Ten team. But whether they're tier 2 or tier 3 will depend on how they continue to progress throughout the season. But they know where they're starting from, right? Mm-hmm. Last week and the week before, they had no clue who they were. And you can't even get this is one thing. Like even teams that are really talented to me, if they don't have a true identity and they're still kind of figuring things out, when they run into a team with equal talent, they get hit in the mouth and they can't win because they don't know who they are. So they haven't been able to grow all year. At least when you know who you are, you're gonna play within yourself, and now you can grow from there. Michigan is not who they were last year, right? So they're not national championship is out of the question. Yeah, and I would say Big Ten championship is very low percentage chance. Mm-hmm. However, based on the last couple of weeks, they could have been a tier 2 team, or they could have been at the bottom of the conference. They're not going to be at the bottom of the conference because they know exactly who they are, and they're going to progress from there. So they're gonna be a tough out no matter who they play. They don't have the dogs to go all the way, but they're going to be a tough out regardless of who they play.
Yeah. I said before the year they had 4 losses. I counted that USC game as a loss, but they'll just have an upset some week, and they'll get that 4 loss in there. Yeah, you could just kind of book it, man. But yeah, I mean, won the game with only 37 passing yards. So yeah, they're all about running the ball. But also around the Big Ten, big win for Illinois. They're there to beat Nebraska 31-24 in overtime. As in, I got to shout out currently, since we're starting Big Ten play, the team that's currently in first place in the Big Ten. It's the 4-0 Indiana Hoosiers, man. So shout out to Indiana 4-0, man. Yeah, man. They first place at least, week 5 of the season going in. So, yeah, man, but that's our show for today, man. We'll catch you guys here. Maybe this weekend we'll jump on live. Always follow us on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all platforms. Follow us. Stick with us. We'll have your news on Ohio State football. We end our shows with an OH.
Ayo.
Go Bucks. Talk to you guys soon.
Go Bucks.